Very good morning. You are most welcome to the YouTube channel of the New Lyceum for English Literature. In today's literary terms, I am going to talk about four terms, especially biography, autobiography, memoir and diary. Four topics are to be discussed in today's class, and all the topics are equally important. Right? Questions have been asked in various examinations from these areas. Right? What is the difference between a biography and an autobiography, and what is the difference between a memoir and a biography or autobiography, and what is diary and what is journal. Right? These are the questions, these are the topics of today's discussion. So pay full attention to the video, and if you like the video, just press the like button, and if you get something useful, if you get something that is relevant from your examinations point of view, please do write in your comment box. Let's start the class. Right? The topic of today's class is what? What are the topics of today's class? Once again, I tell you: autobiography, biography, diary and journal. What is biography? What is biography? Bio then graphy. Bio plus graphy is biography. Right? Late in the 17th century, John Dryden defined the term biography. For the first time, what is biography? It was told by John Dryden. And what was John Dryden's opinion regarding the term biography? He said that biography is the history of a particular man's life. Biography is the history of a particular man's life or particular men's lives. Biography is the history of particular men's lives, and it could be written by anyone who is known, who was known to that particular being, to that particular person. Right? Only who can write the biography? When who is familiar to the character, to the person whose biography he is going to compose. Biography is the history of particular men's lives. The name now connotes a relatively full account of a person's life. Full account of a person's life involving the attempt to set forth character, temperament and milieu, as well as the subject's activities and experiences. These are the content of a biography. What should a biography include? Biography should include the character, the temperament of the character, the milieu, the environment during which he was living, and the subject's activities, what had he done and what was his experiences. These are the 6 elements of biography according to M.H. Abrams. According to M.H. Abrams, contemporary modern account of person's life involves the attempt to set forth character, temperament, milieu, as well as the subject's activities and experiences. In England, fairly detailed secular biography. What is secular biography? Secular biography appeared in the 17th century, and the most distinguishing instance of the secular biography was Isaac Walton's lives, including short biographies of the poets John Donne and George Herbert, written between 1640 and 78. Right? This is the example of a biography given by M.H. Abrams in his book The Glossary of Literary Terms. Right? And there he talks about Isaac Walton's lives, and in Isaac Walton's lives there were biographies including short biographies of John Donne and George Herbert. Both were metaphysical poets, and these biographies are known as secular biographies. इनको secular biographies कहा जाता है. Secular means one who is neither religious nor irreligious, is called secular, right? And then if you talk about the examples of biographies from antiquity, then in Latin, the writer, the biographer Plutarch had written a book, Parallel Lives. Parallel Lives was also titled, was also known as the Noble Lives of the Noble Greeks and Romans. Noble Greeks and Romans, commonly called Parallel Lives or Plutarch's Lives. And the book, the collection of biographies was written in the 2nd century, and it had 48 biographies. 48 biographies of Romans and Latins. And Mr. Plutarch had written the biographies in comparison. He made 24 pairs, and then he compared the life of a Greek and a Roman. Out of 24 pairs, 48 biographies, one pair has been lost, and we have currently 23 pairs of biographies, one from Greek, one for Roman, one for Greek, one from Roman. Means it was a comparative biography, right? It was a comparative biography, and in his biographies, Plutarch wanted to show the influence of such noble Greeks and Romans on people, and by whom were they inspired, right? Inspired and इंस्पायरिंग दोनों पर उन्होंने काम किया था, राइट? प्लूटार्क्स लाइव्स 48 biographies were there originally, and in England this Plutarch Lives was translated by Thomas North during Elizabethan period, and then it came in the hand of William Shakespeare, and then William Shakespeare based his Roman history plays like Julius Caesar, like Antony and Cleopatra on this Parallel Lives by Plutarch and translated by Thomas North. So these are the examples of biographies in classical literature. If you come to the contemporary literature, if you come to the English literature, then the greatest example of biographies was written by none other than the literary dictator Samuel Johnson. Samuel Johnson wrote Lives of Poets, and in Lives of Poets he wrote 52 biographies of the eminent poets. 52 biographies of the eminent poets, and that those biographies started from the date of death of the writer, date of death of the poet, not from the birth of the writer, birth of the poet. Lives of the most eminent English poets was a collection of 52 biographies by Mr. Dr. Samuel Johnson, literary dictator. Right? The most famed surviving examples is the parallel lives of Greek and Romans notables by the Greek writer Plutarch, 46 to 120 AD. In the translation by Sir Thomas North in 1579, it was the source of Shakespeare's plays on Roman subjects. That was about the parallel lives by Plutarch. And then just see here a picture. Orlando, a biography. Till now, Mr. Plutarch and Dr. Samuel Johnson wrote the biographies of real people who lived, who worked, who were inspired, or who inspired others. Right now, here is a biography written by Virginia Woolf, Orlando, a biography, and this is a novel. Orlando, a biography, is a novel written by Virginia Woolf, and Orlando is Orlando's biography, who was initially born as a man. He lived for 30 years as a man, and then he changed his gender and became a she. And as a she, he lived around 300 years. Right? He lived around 300 years under the title Orlando as a woman. And Orlando, a biography, is a satirical account of history of English literature. Right? It is a satirical account of history of English literature. Orlando met several important writers of the time. Right? He was born during the age of Queen Elizabeth, and the novel was written in 1920s. And the novel covers the history of English literature from the time of Shakespeare to the time of Virginia Woolf. Orlando, a biography, right? Real people's biography, fictitious people's biography. Biography is the account of experiences. Biography is the account of personal feelings. Biography is the account of familiar experiences that the writer gets when he is living or when he was living with that particular person. And Virginia Woolf was a staunch feminist, and this novel Orlando, a biography, is put into the category of feminist criticism. Alright, Orlando, a biography by whom? By Virginia Woolf. Alright, by Virginia Woolf, a 20th century feminist who is known for her novels like To the Lighthouse, Mrs. Dalloway, Orlando, a biography, right? These are the novels, and who is also famous for her work, for her lectures, A Room of One's Own, and then 3 Guineas. She is also known for a concept, and her concept is androcentric literature. Androcentric, right? Androgyny, in fact, she coined the phrase androgyny. And from biographies, we come to autobiographies and hagiography. Hagiography and campaign biography. Hagiography is the biography of Christian saints, Christian clergies, Christian priests. It is a stylized biography of Christian saints. That is one line formula, right? Stylized biographies of Christian saints, right? The stylized lives of Christian saints often based much more on pious legends than facts. One more important point is added here. Hagiographies are not merely fact, but they are taken, right? They believe in faith, right? Not on facts, right? When you take somebody's name with reverence, then you forget his weaknesses, you forget his shortcomings. And religious persons, Christian saints or Hindu saints or any saints, their names are taken with reverence, so their shortcomings are forgotten. उनके shortcomings भूल जाती हैं, and then pious legends पर based होते हैं rather than facts, right? Hagiographies are the stylized life of saints, right? Life of saints. Biographies, in biographies, identity was not limited. Anybody could write on anybody, but hagiographies are exclusively for the lives of saints. But in the modern era, in the 20th and 21st century, the term has been extended, as everything has been extended, and by extension, now the term hagiography describes biographies that exhibit an uncritical idealizing view of their subjects. Uncritical idealizing view of their subjects, it means when you write a biography, it could be a little bit critical, but when you write a hagiography, you do not have any right to be critical, because you have to idealize that particular person, you have to idealize that particular saint, so there is no scope of criticism in hagiography. Next point, one such example is campaign biography. This is a comparatively new term for you. Campaign biography. What is campaign biography? Right, I come to the point. A book written and published to coincide with a politician's campaign for a major office during the election time, electoral time, when the election is going on. Two political parties, especially in America, the Republic and the Democrat, right, उनके candidates होते हैं, and in favor of their candidates या against the opposite party candidates, biographies are written, and such biographies are called campaign biographies. If you are favoring a party leader, then you will be writing in favor of him. It means you will be idealizing his life. There will be no mistake at all. That person will be compared to something supernatural, someone heroic. उससे जब आप कंपेयर करेंगे, he will not be considered a human being like us. Idealization of his life is the part of his politics, and that is known as campaign biography. Right? That is known as campaign biography. The presidential campaign biography collection was begun in 1964 when the graduating class of Central Michigan University gifted the Clark Library with funds to acquire biographies written as a part of an individual's quest for presidency. Right? Quest for presidency. When election happens, leaders are idolized, leaders are caricatured, leaders are satirized, and that is the part of campaign biography. Right? The collection today extends chronologically from the election of Andrew Jackson to that of Barack Obama. Right? Barack Obama was the president of America just before Trump, and after Trump now you have Biden, and Barack Obama is starting from the election of Andrew Jackson to Barack Obama. These are the collection of campaign biographies. I hope campaign biography, the term is now clear. If still any doubt persists, if any queries persist, the comment box is open for you. You can write your message, you can drop your message anytime, and I'll try to come back to you with your doubts. Alright, then hagiography and campaign biography. Right? Campaign biography is the extension of hagiography. That's all. Alright, campaign biographies are the extension of hagiographies. Alright, it focuses on candidates from the two major parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, and generally does not include biographies published by third party candidate. Alright, come to the next point from biography, hagiography, campaign biography. Now the lives of the English poets written by Dr. Samuel Johnson, and I discussed this life, the lives written by Dr. Samuel Johnson. Right? It was a collection of 52 biographies of 17th, 18th century poets. It was Samuel Johnson's lives of the English poets, and of the best known of all biographies, James Boswell's life of Samuel Johnson. Right? Dr. Samuel Johnson wrote the biographies of 52 people, 52 poets, essayists and authors, and his biography was written by James Boswell. Alright, then I come to next term, that is biography. Autobiography. Auto means self. A biography that is written by the writer himself. When someone writes his own detail, his own personal experience, his own life sketch, that is known as autobiography. Right? First hand experience is autobiography. Biography is the second hand, third hand experience. Biography is a researched work. Biography is a researched work because it collects a lot of things, a lot of information, a lot of material from various sources, from different sources. But when you write autobiography, you don't have to collect material because you are writing about yourself. You are experimenting with truth. As Mahatma Gandhi wrote his autobiography, My Experiment with Truth. And when you experiment, when you write your own reality, your own truth, it is called autobiography. And autobiography is a biography written by the subject about himself or herself. And then there is a term called memoir. Right? Biography and memoir are two different genres. Autobiography is different from memoir. It is to be distinguished from the memoir because memoir deals with a particular event, a particular incident, a particular thing in somebody's life. That is his memory, that is memoir. And autobiography deals with the lifetime experience. right? Autobiography is the lifetime experience and memoir is exclusive. Memoir is focused on a particular event, a particular incident, in which the emphasis is not on the author's developing self, but on the people and events that the author has known or witnessed, and also from the private diary, right? There is another genre, private diary. Autobiography is different from the private diary. Autobiography is different from memoir. Autobiography is different from journal, right? Which is a day-to-day record of the events in one's life, written for personal use and satisfaction with little or no thought of publication. Diary and journal are written day-to-day experience होते हैं वो, and purpose publication का नहीं होता, but autobiography is written for the purpose of publication. Memoir deals with particular incidents. Diary, private diary deals with the day-to-day experience, day-to-day life. Journal deals with day-to-day life, but the intention of the journalist, intention of the diarist ये नहीं होता कि it is to be brought out, it has to see the daylight, right? But autobiography's sole purpose is to get it published, right? And autobiography is the personal record, right? It talks about author's developing self. Memoir doesn't talk about author's developing self, but it deals with a particular event, particular incident. एक example memoir का, Salman Rushdie's novel The Satanic Verses was banned almost across the world. Apart from few countries ने बैन नहीं किया था, बैन कर दिया गया था. And a Muslim leader, Ayatollah Khomeini, issued fatwa on him. And that fatwa experience, that is also known as Rushdie affair, was later written by Salman Rushdie in his memoir Joseph Anton, a memoir. That Joseph Anton, a memoir, Joseph Conrad and Anton Chekhov, he brought two writers together and क्या किया उनको एक बना दिया है. That is Joseph Anton, a memoir, means that memoir deals with Rushdie affair, that memoir deals with fatwa affair, right? Deals with the life that he faced after fatwa was issued on him. Means memoir deals with a particular event, particular incident, and autobiography is the record of the author's developing self, entire life, coming of age story से लेकर के maturity तक, everything is there in autobiography. All right. Now I come to the next slide, that is memoir, and I have detailed what the memoir is, and here are a few examples of memoir. Just write down those examples, and these examples are asked in your examination. A form of autobiography that subordinates the author's personal life to the public events. One more point that I had missed in the previous slide, वो यहाँ पर आ गया है कि memoir deals with public event. Memoir deals with public event, and biography, autobiography deals with personal events, right? When a form of autobiography that subordinates the author's personal life to the public events in which he or she has participated. In some cases, as in Simone de Beauvoir's Memoirs of Dutiful Daughter. Simone de Beauvoir was a French feminist. She was an existentialist. She was a staunch feminist, and she is world famous because of her tour de force, The Second Sex. She wrote the memoir of a dutiful daughter. The public event is the representative character of the life in de Beauvoir's case. The degree to which her early life typified the upbringing of a girl in her time. More usually, the form serves as a vehicle for a personal account of specific public events. Personal account of specific public events. An example is Precedent at the Creation, the memoirs of Dean Acheson, the Secretary of State during the establishment of the United Nations and the conduct of the Korean War. Right, so these are the examples of memoir that deals with public events, personal experience of the public event. That is the basic content, that is the basic subject matter of a memoir. All right, clear? Fine, absolutely fine. Should I proceed? Yes. Simone de Beauvoir's Memoirs of a Dutiful Daughter. This is the memoir written by Salman Rushdie on his own personal experience, Joseph Anton. A memoir is the subtitle. Salman Rushdie. Rushdie began to use Joseph Anton as a pseudonym. Rushdie chose the alias to honor the writers Joseph Conrad and Anton Chekhov. It deals with Rushdie affair post-fatwa after the publication of Satanic Verses, the life that he spent in England under the protection of English police, under the protection of English government, under the protection of English throne. Right, the life experience is composed, the event is composed here in Rushdie affair, right, Joseph Anton. All right, next is diary. What is diary? Diary means daily. Diary and journal both has the same root. Diary Latin से आई है और journal French से आया है. Right, diary is a daily account of events. Right, daily account of events. You write diary. Many of us write diary. They prefer diary writing and they write down the whole day's events, whole day's experience in the diary. Right, a diary account of events recorded by an individual, usually personal in nature. And diaries are not meant to be publicized, not meant to be published. This is a very important point. Often used synonymously with the term journal. But diary and journal are two different phenomena. Right, they are not same. Distinguished from the latter by its more intimate and informal tone. Famous diarists include Samuel Pepys during the Restoration period, Evelyn during the Restoration period, the 17th century, and Anais Nin in the 20th century. And undoubtedly, the most beautiful diary ever written was written by a girl named Anne Frank. Right, the diary of Anne Frank, the diary of young girl. This is the best example of diary. Anne Frank's diary of a young girl, published in 1952, written while she was hiding from the Nazi during World War II. During World War II, the girl Annie, along with the members of her family, right, घर से सब चले गए थे, and they were hiding in order to save their life. Almost everyone of the family died apart from her father. And in 1952, after the completion of the war, the diary was taken. The name of her diary was Kitty. The name of her diary was Kitty. The diary was hugely edited by father because there were many sexual explicit references and such things were edited, pruned and deleted. And then it was published under the title The Diary of a Young Girl, right, written by Anne Frank in 1952. Among novels cast in diary form, George Vernon's Diary of a Country Priest is a modern classic. Diary of a Country Priest is a novel, and the novel is written in the form of diary. All right, the famous diarists were Samuel Pepys, John Evelyn, and Roger North, and all the three were during the Augustine period, during the neoclassical period, during the Restoration period. Samuel Pepys, John Evelyn, and Roger North. Right, John Evelyn wrote almost throughout his life. He kept on writing the incidents, the events that had happened in his lifetime, during his lifetime, in his diary. And the personal records जो हमको मिलता है, especially about the plague of London 1665, Great Fire of London, right, 1665 64 65, उसके अकाउंट्स जो है वो जॉन इवलिन के जो है डायरी में मिलते हैं. He is remembered chiefly by his diary. It covers almost the whole of his life and is a valuable document of social history of the time, containing as it does graphic descriptions of events and personalities of the day. His style is simple, self-conscious and scholarly, but has no distinctive individuality except now and in his descriptions of the galley slaves and Great Fire, where it rises to strength and color. And after John Evelyn, you have Samuel Pepys. Samuel Pepys' diary covers almost a decade after Mr. Charles II came to the throne till 1670s, and during in his diary he wrote about all the experiences. Samuel Pepys, he was the president of which academy? He was the president of the Royal Academy, and he was a member of parliament. He was a regular theatre goer, and he was the theatre critic as well. And the performance of Shakespeare's plays during the Restoration, day by day account is reported in his diary. His diary was published in 1825, and till then his diary was not comprehended, was not deciphered by anybody, because he used to write in shorthands. In 1825 his diary was published, and in his diary there were several personal experiences, because the diary was not meant to be published. बहुत सारे ऐसे उनके पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंसेस थे, पर्सनल अफेयर्स थे जो उनके एक्ट्रेसेस से हुआ करते थे, वो सब उन्होंने लिखा है. दैट वाज नॉट टू बी published, but finally in 1825 it was published, and it was an event in 1825. The frankness with which it records every minute detail of the author's daily life is simply astounding. The picture that emerges from the diary is very different from that of universally respected person of history, right? And once you read the diary, he will no longer be a respected person, a respected parliamentarian, or a respected president of the Royal Society, right? What is fascinating about Pepys is the utter absence of self-consciousness in its self-revelation. We wonder whether he was writing of himself or of somebody else. The diary may not be literature, but it is the kind of stuff of which literature is made. Like diary is not literature, but it is a thing by which literature is made, right? Next, Samuel Pepys. After Samuel Pepys, the third one was Roger North. Roger North, a Tory gentleman, belonged to a great family that played an important role in the history and politics of time. He was his assured place here to his excellent lives of his three famous kinsmen and an autobiography now collected under the general title North's Lives of North. North's Lives of North. And Thomas North से इनका कोई लेना देना नहीं है. Thomas North was the translator of Plutarch's Lives, and Mr. Roger North was a genuine writer. He wrote the biography of three kinsmen and an autobiography, and his all works were published under a single title, North's Lives of North. Alright, and now after the diary, now I come to the next term, that is journal. Right, the picture that you see here on your screen is of William Wordsworth's sister, Dorothy Wordsworth. And Dorothy Wordsworth was a great journalist, right? Journal is not only that you understand it is an academic journal, legal journal, social journal, right? Journal is also like a diary, right, where people record his or her day-to-day experience. And the difference between diary and journal is that journal is more personal and diary is a little bit less personal. And Dorothy Wordsworth, when she settled along with his brother William Wordsworth, she started writing journals, and his journals were the subject matter of several poems written by William Wordsworth. And the most example is best example that is the poem Daffodil, right? Dorothy Wordsworth had recorded the experience of daffodil in her journal. Wordsworth wrote the journal and then he wrote the poem. And Coleridge was also very much appreciative of Dorothy Wordsworth's writing. Dorothy keeps her Grasmere journal between May 1800 and January 1803. And apart from that, she wrote so many journals, right? When she was at Alfoxden, she wrote Dorothy's journal from 20th January to 22nd May. Dorothy Wordsworth's Journal of Days spent at Hamburg in September-October 1798. Dorothy Wordsworth Journal written at Grasmere 14th May to 21st December 1800. Dorothy Wordsworth Journal written at Grasmere from 10th October 1801 to 29th December 1801. Then her journal written at Grasmere, then her journal written at Grasmere once again, then recollections of a tour made in Scotland. So these were the records of Dorothy Wordsworth's journal. She was a great journalist. If you talk about examples, the first fully developed autobiography is also the first most influenced autobiography, and that is the Confession of St. Augustine, written in the 4th century. Most important question. First fully developed account of an autobiography is the Confession of St. Augustine. Confessions of St. Augustine, written in the 4th century when he accepted Christianity and he was spreading Christianity, he was preaching Christianity during the Anglo-Saxon period, before Anglo-Saxon period, right? That is the example of autobiography, right? The design of this profound and subtle spiritual autobiography. One more thing is here, spiritual autobiography. And in England, right, one other writer, John Bunyan, is known for his spiritual autobiography, right? Mr. St. Augustine's autobiography, Confessions of St. Augustine, is a spiritual autobiography, centers on what became the crucial experience in Christian autobiography, the author's anguished mental crisis and the recovery of conversion, in which he discovers his Christian identity and religious vocation, how he became a Christian, how he started spreading Christianity. In सबका record है Confessions of St. Augustine, right, written in 4th century by obviously St. Augustine. Alright, then I talked about another spiritual autobiography, and that spiritual autobiography is was written by John Bunyan, and the title was The Grace Abounding. Now here there are several examples of diaries. The picture that you see here, this is the picture of Goethe, right? Michel de Montaigne, who is known as father of essays, जिसे कहते हो, he started writing a sort of biographies, right? Published in 1580, and in later expansions constitute the first great instance of autobiographical self-revelations that is presented for its inherent interest rather than for religious or didactic purposes, right? Father of essays, he coined the word essays, and which means to attempt, to try, and in his essays he wrote his personal accounts. That is the first instance of autobiography. Among later distinguished achievements in primarily secular autobiography, the autobiography of Rousseau, right? The autobiography of Rousseau is also known as the Confessions, published in between 1764 and 70. Goethe wrote his autobiography Poetry and Truth, and it's also known as Dichtung und Wahrheit, right? And the autobiographies of Benjamin Franklin, Henry Adams, C. Nokasi, Lillian Hellman, Gertrude Stein, published under the title The Autobiography of Elise B. Toklas. Alice B. Douglas is the autobiography of Gertrude Stein. Gertrude Stein वही corrected her who gave the phrase lost generation. Right, lost generation, the phrase was coined by Gertrude Stein. Many spiritual histories of self, however, like John Bunyan's grace abounding to the chief of sinners, followed Augustine's example of religious self-revelation centering on a crisis and conversion. These are the examples of autobiographies, right? And then I come to the next slide, and next slide is also about a few autobiographies, that is in form of poetry, in form of prose, right? Mr. Wordsworth wrote his biography in his epical poem under the title The Prelude or the Growth of a Poet's Mind, right? Prelude or the Growth of a Poet's Mind, and autobiographical poem, right? Completed in 1805, published in 1850 for the partly autobiographical works of prose fiction such as Marshall Proud's A la Recherche du Temps Perdu, James Joyce's Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, and Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man. These are the novels as well as biographies of the writer, right? Semi-autobiographies of the writer, right? Partly autobiographical works of prose fiction, और इन्हीं को आप बोलते हो autobiographical novels. In recent years, the distinction between autobiography and fiction has become more and more blurred as authors include themselves under their own names in novels, and autobiographies are written in the asserted mode of fiction are like Maxine Hong Kingston's The Woman Warrior, mingle fiction and personal experience as a way to get at one's essential life story. Now, the genre novel and autobiography has blurred. Now, the writers, they sometimes imagine the characters and then narrates his biography, his autobiography through imagined characters, and sometimes the narrator himself is the writer and writer narrates his or her own story. That is another form of autobiography. Example is given here. Maxine Hong Kingston's, she wrote the novel The Woman Warrior. Alright. And then you have a bunch of fictional as well as real autobiographies. Fictional versus real autobiographies. Here I have given a few pictures. See the picture. The first picture that you see here, Jane Eyre and autobiography. It was a novel by Currer Bell. Who was Currer Bell? Currer Bell was the pseudonym of Charlotte Bronte, one of the Bronte sisters. She wrote the novel Jane Eyre and it was subtitled An Autobiography. किसकी autobiography है ये? Charlotte Bronte's or Jane Eyre's? In fact, it is the biography of the eponymous character Jane Eyre, but it is also the autobiography of Charlotte Bronte. Right? Two in one. That's why the subtitle is An Autobiography. Jane Eyre narrates her story. Right? Jane Eyre narrates her story, and Jane Eyre's story and Charlotte Bronte's stories are almost similar. Right? Almost similar. Huh? That is the autobiography. Then you have the autobiography of Abdul Kalam, The Wings of Fire, autobiography of Mahatma Gandhi, My Experiments with Truth, autobiography of, the biography of Madam President, the biography of Draupadi Murmu, written by Sandeep Shahu, and then you have an official autobiography of Sachin Tendulkar, Playing It My Way, My Autobiography, and you just see here on the cover page the word official autobiography. It means autobiography is not only your personal experience, now it is official. Everybody knows about you and you have written the things that is known to one and all. That is official autobiography. Right? Official autobiography, biography. Sunny Days is the autobiography of Sunil Gavaskar, and Wings of Fire by APJ Abdul Kalam. Alright, so इतनी बातें थी आज के इस लेक्चर में, आज के इस क्लास में. आई होप यू वुड हैव अंडरस्टूड ऑल द पॉइंट्स, बायोग्राफी, ऑटोबायोग्राफी, जर्नल एंड डायरी, and you would remember all the names of the biographies and their biographers, autobiographies and the autobiographers, journal and journalist, diary and diarist. Thank you so much for being with me. Thank you so much for paying your attention to the video. And if you like the video, please do share with your friends. Right, the video will definitely help them. Thank you so much. ऑल द बेस्ट. मिलते हैं जल्दी ही नेक्स्ट वीडियो में, नेक्स्ट क्लास के साथ, कुछ नए टॉपिक्स के साथ. गुड लक. बाय बाय. टेक केयर. जय हिंद. जय भारत.